Hello and welcome. I'm Regina, your host and mindset coach. This is the Moms Who Achieve podcast, where we discuss motherhood, mindset, money, and everything in between to equip first-generation change makers with the tools they need to create the lives they want and deserve by managing their minds and taking massive action. I am super ecstatic that you're here, and I'm hopeful that with an open mind, you'll leave with exactly what you came for. Let's go. Hey, what's up? How are you? I am happy to be here as always. My daughter has a friend over, and can I just say that having a sleepover with boys, in my experience, and I'm just wondering, is it yours, is so much different than with boys versus girls. Like when my son has people over, they chill, they play the game, they're gonna eat good, they might do a little roughhousing, but not too much, right? My daughter, there is this constant I can't even constant amount of like constant, right? And like super loud and like, how are you not tired? And why do I keep hearing bucking? Why do I like, okay. So I just want to say I may or may not hear them in the back. It's a beautiful thing, right? But I tend to record late because that's when I have the time, and I'm not trying to really hear that. But anyways, I just want to know, like, is it the same in your household as it is in mine? The girls versus the boys. Anywho, and today I want to talk about indecision. So I have been thinking a lot about this because as I have moved into newer spaces and places and made decisions for myself, I have realized just how much indecision has held me back. So yeah, let's see what's up. Well, when you think about anything you've done in your life, you have had to have made that decision to do that. And I know we think about big decisions, right? So it be marriage. Some of us had made a conscious decision to have children. Some of us didn't. But who we plan to spend our life with, where we decide to work, where we decide to move, the type of, money we want to spend on our house. Like we make decisions all the time. And of course, those are big decisions and they're equally important. But I've noticed that we don't, or at least myself for a long time, didn't realize the power in all of the decisions and that not everything seems like a decision at first. But when we really look at it, like pretty much everything we do started with a decision of yes, no, that one, this one, him, her, whatever. And what I really want to touch in on is the awareness we need to have around that, because if we understand that everything boils down to a decision, we can save ourselves a lot of time, a lot of confusion, and a lot of turmoil because we'll understand like the basis behind decision making. Now, although I agree that there are many different decisions that we can, for the most part in this world, agree what's wrong or what's right or what's the yes or no, or what's the better option. Like we can come up with many of those, but I don't really want to spend time on making the right decisions. And that's because I really want to talk about that part of decision making that can cause you to be stuck or cause you to really not experience what we're put here to experience. And I know this because of my own experience and what I had to challenge myself every day when I am deciding on purpose to do something different and step outside my comfort zone to build what it is I'm trying to build. And on the flip side of that, how detrimental indecision or indecisiveness is probably the better word, can be on you, your future, your goals, and what it is you want to do, and even discovering where you are to be in life or what lights you up. So to get started, let's just point out that many of the decisions we made, especially early on, especially if you weren't taught these kinds of things as a child. And likely you weren't because your parents didn't know. But if you weren't taught the power of your mind and how, wow, you can really create the life you want by design and not by default, and you can actually decide on purpose how you want to show up and what things you want in this life, then you likely made a lot of decisions by default when you were younger. An opportunity perceived itself and you just went for it. Other people were doing it, so that's what you did. That's what your family always did, so that's where you went. Like, there are so many decisions that we make just because that's how it's always been. From what churches we take our kids to, what conversations we have, what kinds of foods do we fix in our own household when we are away outside of our parents' houses. So how we run our own families oftentimes are literally just a reflection of how we were raised. Or like if you hated that, then the shit's the exact opposite. And that's because if we don't realize that you can make the decision on purpose, then you're just going to go with what's in front of you, what you see, and what you see is possible. If you don't know that, oh, I get to create the reality I want, then you won't realize that the options, quote unquote, in front of you are only there and can only be seen because that's what you have seen throughout your life. And that's what you see as possible because you've not been exposed to other things. So the way we parent, the religion we believe in, the way we eat, the types of jobs we have, our relationships, how we show up with strangers, how are we in public places with people we don't know, the kind of vacations we take, what we think about politics, if we vote if we don't. All of these and so many more. I mean, we can go on forever and ever about the different decisions that we actually make even before we know we're making. And we just think we're living. We just think we're just doing life, right? How you drive, the kind of music you listen to, like even down to the gas station you may go to get your gas, the store that you shop at. Like if you have not made the decision, if you are not aware that you can make those decisions, then the first part of adulthood is usually based on what you've been taught. And what I want to offer is that can change today. If you have always done that, if you're just now realizing this, that can change today. Even down to moving or deciding to stay in a city or not, moving across the world, quitting a job and jumping into something else, like whatever. Like as I'm talking, so many more options are coming up, but I really just want to hone in on the fact that every single thing you've done up until now was a decision that you made. And 9 times out of 10, if you've not been aware, they were just made by default. So now that we have gotten past that, it's important also to realize how powerful the ability to make decisions is. And also, I just want to take a moment to express gratitude and just the feeling I'm having now that I'm talking on how thankful I am that I do have the ability to make decisions for myself, for my family, and my space in so many different capacities because that's not everybody's story. That's not everybody's ability. So I just want to take a moment to just be grateful for that. Thank God for that. Whether you say God, universe, source, Jesus, in this place, it doesn't fucking matter. I want to just take a moment and thank God for that ability because it is allowing me to create the life I want, to experience life on purpose. So we know that we have the ability to make decisions. Okay, why does that matter? Why did I create a podcast around this? And I did that because I believe that in order to create our life on purpose, we have to realize that we have the power to do so. And then I feel like when you have the awareness around that, you start paying attention to the things that you do on a daily basis and you get to ask yourself, is this what I want to experience? Because if you have the ability to make any decision you want, then you have the ability to experience the life you want. And how that's amazing is that most people feel that life is happening to them. Most people feel that they have no control over what's happening or what they're doing. But when we become aware and we just start paying attention, we see just how one, we have the ability to create our life. And two, your life is actually coming from the decisions that you make, whatever experiences you're having. Now, I have to insert here that obviously life happens. Bad things happen to people, and that is the experience of this lifetime. That's just how it is. So, obviously, but I need to say, it goes without saying, some shit is just going to happen. But I also don't believe that life is about 100% amazing greatness all the time. I learned that through like self-coaching and learning through other coaches and just doing some research and learning about that, like just the different laws of the universe. And like one way that I have learned it is like you can't have 100% goodness and perfection. If you did, you wouldn't know how to title it because it would just be. But we know what good feels like because we know what bad feels like. And life is 50-50. I learned that from an amazing coach, Brooke Castillo. She does such an excellent job helping you to understand that it's not about life being perfect all the time and getting all of what you want, all the shit happening and nobody dying around you and just, you know what I mean? It's not really about that. It's about evolving as a person as things come up against you and how that helps you grow as a person and being able to embrace and experience all feelings. And most of us don't like negative feelings and we unconsciously do everything we can to prevent from actually feeling those feelings. So look her up. You can just probably put in Brooke Castillo, Good Life or something like that. And if I find the podcast I'm talking about, I'll definitely link it in the show notes. But she does an amazing job. I don't even need to reinvent the wheel of helping you to understand that. So with this knowledge, I want you to really just think about everything you do on a daily basis. And you can even reflect on the past of maybe a current situation you're now experiencing or where you find yourself living or how you do different things, whatever you want to think about. And just kind of reflect on how you got to that decision. Where did it come from? Where did the knowledge come from to decide that you were going to do that? So just take some time to think about that. Because the more we are seeing all of this and we are really bringing it into our minds to understand, the less we feel victim to what's going on around us, right? Like the less we feel like life is happening to us and the more power we can take over the things that are happening. And what I'm really excited to talk about now that we understand all of that is indecision. And this is a sneaky one that I actually didn't realize until I started getting coached myself and just doing the self-coaching and just challenging myself and learning these different concepts and reflecting like, hold on, is that true for me? And absolutely. Indecision will just fuck it up. Like it will fuck up your entire situation and you'd have all these amazing goals or things you want to do or experience. And if you're not careful, you won't, especially if it's something that pushes you to be better, do better, and show up as a higher evolution of yourself because indecision prevents you from experiencing those negative emotions or that discomfort. Because remember, like I've said in the past, our brains were created to that primitive part of our brain is to protect us. It doesn't want us going out there and doing new shit, experiencing stuff, putting ourselves out there, the vulnerability in that. It doesn't want that. It doesn't want you working any harder than you need to work. It wants you to experience less pain, feel better, do all the great things, hide and not deal with any of the discomfort. And so if you're not aware of that, then indecision is one way that the primitive brain can come in and stop you from doing what you know you want to do. And I didn't realize this until I would get over a decision and be like, and it kept happening. And I'm like, damn, I know this is what I wanted to do. Like, why am I fucking around? Right? I'll give you an example. This podcast itself, I mean, man, we're talking like 2 to 3 years probably that I've been thinking about starting this podcast. And I've mentioned before in a previous episode, like recorded different things on my voice app, just having fun with it, right? Pretending to do something I know I wanted to do. And I was telling myself all of these reasons why I couldn't do it. And it boiled down to indecision because since I'm confused and I have too many options and I don't know this and I don't know that, then I can decide not to decide yet because I don't have enough information. So put this to perspective. I wanted to start a podcast. There was a lot of turmoil in that. Well, I'm not going to have time. And how am I going to do it? This is so fancy. You got to have this setup and that setup and like all these things, right? And I was like, no, I really do want one. Eventually, right? I decided I wanted one. Let's just stop there that I decided. I could have stayed in indecision and continue on this loop that a lot of people stay in on starting a podcast. Instead, I decided, I made a decision that yes, I was going to do it or no, I wasn't. And then I was over that. Boom, podcast is coming, right? There, I was hit with another set of challenges to work on because again, my brain is trying to keep me safe. It doesn't want me to experience all of this discomfort and embarrassment or what all the things that were going on when I was like, yes, I'm doing a podcast. So then it came up, well, hold on. There's 50 million platforms. Which one am I going to choose? And I would just read through them and just get stuck in this paralysis analysis about it. Then I was like, well, hold on. What am I going to talk about? Am I going to be weekly? Am I not? Am I going to have it be very formal? Am I going to do interviews? Am I going to speak only to moms or everybody in the world? I got stuck on the name. I got stuck on every single part of it because again, my brain is like, let's not do that, right? But got over that and decided those things. But all of it came down to making a decision. I remember one day I was like, man, this is getting like so overwhelming. And I know I want to do this podcast. I know that I'm holding myself back. I'm going to decide tonight what the name of my podcast is, how often I'm going to drop the podcast. I'm going to look up just three of the most popular podcast hosting websites, and I'm going to decide which one I'm going to do. And that's exactly what I did. Now, of course, this continued to happen, right? I kept having things come up in my mind that tried to get me stuck of confusion and not making a decision and holding me back, right? But I made a decision when I caught myself thinking certain thoughts that would get me in that confusion loop. I made a decision and it still happens today. I miss a week of posting because life, and I'm like, oh, see, you couldn't do a podcast because you said you were dropping every single week and you didn't. So are you sure you want to do this? Maybe you can put this off. You're not getting paid for it anyway. It's not like you got thousands of downloads, what's one thing after another, but I'm aware. So when I'm like, oh, you're in that thought loop again, boom. Do you want to be doing this podcast? Do you feel it to be serving you, to serving other people? Is this a progressive realization of a worthy goal, which is how Earl Nightingale defines success? And yes, it is. Yes, yes, yes. So shut the fuck up to my brain. Thank you. I appreciate you. You're always looking out for me, but I am going to do this, right? So that is what I continue to do as I move through challenges. And I really would love for you to think of like a decision that you have been thinking about that has been holding you back in one way or another. And if you aren't careful, when you first think of this decision, a lot of these, well, this or that, I don't know this, I don't know that, are legit. Like that's how our brains get really good at making us believe, hey, the decision is out of my hands. I can't do it. I don't have what it takes. I don't have the information needed. I don't this, don't that. It seems very logical. It really does. So when you're thinking of this decision that you need to make, also really hone in on the reasons you haven't made it. Like, are those reasons truly holding you back? And you might take a minute, reflect on that, because your brain does a very good job of convincing you that this all makes sense and this is how it should be. And this is going to sound crazy, but for me, at least in my experience, if you have a decision to make, should I leave the city or should I stay? Honestly, take a moment and really just ask yourself, do you want to leave the city? Do I want to leave here? Is that something I really want to try? And if it's yes, right? Like, just make the decision. That doesn't mean you have to jump on a plane tomorrow, but like really tune into yourself and get a vibe of, do you really want to do it? Because sometimes it's not even what we really want to do. We just think it's something we want to do, or we think it's something we should do, or we must do. So just answer that question for yourself. Do I myself want to do this? Because I'm also a firm believer that when we make a decision, the doors open. Like God is like just waiting on you to decide what you're going to do, decide what you want, decide what you're going to go for. The fact is that much of what we want, we're not even sure about. We're not even speaking very clearly about it. We have a lot of, I do, if that would be nice. It would be really cool if this, well, if this happened, then I might. Like we have all that connotation around it. So how in the hell is God with all of his or her power going to help us and send us in a universe just align itself, quantum physics and everything else that's out there, it's showing us that that's what the universe actually does, for it to align itself to give us exactly what we said we want when we can't even say it clearly. This is why it must be a definite yes. And you know the answer to that. If we're not careful, we allow our brains to keep us in such confusion and busy this, busy that, that we haven't even taken the time to really assess the situation and figure out, is this what I want to do? And if it is, make it a hell yes. No matter what, don't think about anything after that. And when we make a decision that it's a yes, even if we think it's impossible, it never happened, our brain, the universe also, we align in frequency to what's possible. That we automatically begin to attract like situations that also says yes. But it all starts with a definite decision. Now, once we move past the decision, I just have a couple of things on my mind for you to think about as you're deciding to make a decision on things. You're probably going to have a situation, because 9 times out of 10, if you haven't decided on something, like if it's been a while, it's probably because you don't want to put yourself out there. You're not sure if it'll work out. Like all of these things come up. And I want to talk about a few things with that. Is that one, it doesn't matter honestly if things are going to work out or if they're not going to work out, because we don't know that. Like nobody knows how something is going to happen until after it's already done. It's kind of like when we don't want to start a business or we don't want to start something new because we don't know how. You won't know how until you do it. That's not the focus. The focus is just deciding that's what you want to do, that's what you want to experience, and then things will come to you. But also, when we get stuck in the land of I don't know, then our brain does not have to do the work to find out. So when you think, I don't know, you don't do the things to figure it out, to learn more, to obtain what you need to obtain. But if you step in like, I can figure this out. I don't know now, but I will find out. You know what I mean? Like your brain is going to start looking for the answers. You're going to be thinking about things. You're going to, this has happened many a times before where I'm like, oh, this is not working out. This sucks. But then I'm like, hold on. What can I have I exhausted my options? What can I do to help this work out? And I always get new ideas. So remember that. I don't know will get you stuck. That's what it's supposed to do. Because if you don't know, then you can't figure it out and you're stuck right there, not needing to move forward, not needing to do anything else. And what a great place to be when you are afraid, right? The other thing is not to focus on whether something is right for you or wrong for you so much. I mean, we want to use our logic, right? When we're thinking about safety and different things like that. But I don't know if this is going to work out. I don't know if I should do this. Like that goes along with the podcast I did before about failing. Like if you decide to do something and it doesn't go the way that you thought it would go, that doesn't mean that you failed. And almost always, I really would like to say every time something does not go your way when you've planned something, it's because there was something much better. It was something that's going to be better for you, better for the overall plan, something you can't even see yet. But when we get stuck on, is this the right thing to do? Is it the wrong thing to do? Like we never do anything, because of course you can never answer that. You won't know until you do it, because hell, if you were sure that it was the right thing, what is guaranteeing that something doesn't happen, right? Like we know that life isn't perfect. We know that shit happens out of our control all of the time. So you can never even get it right. Like you can never even answer that for yourself. Like, man, if I could just know it was right, I will move forward. Like just think about that. It is impossible. Even if you tell yourself, "Oh, this is right. I know it'll work out." That is literally just a thought. It's not a fact. So we can see how you will always be stuck and not do anything if you think you need to know whether it's right or wrong for you. Instead, let's just think about, do I want to do this? Yes. And really take the time and use your right now brain, the higher level thinking part of your brain, to help you figure it out, because you can come up with the best choice for yourself right there with your current higher part of your brain and make that decision. And in making that decision, going forward with how you're going to create that or be that or experience that, you will learn along the way. Because I'm here to tell you, as I've been told and have experienced myself and continue to experience, it's not about it always going right. And as a matter of fact, it will not go right. But, and this is a whole podcast on like just what we're taught in school and those really early years about getting it wrong. Like, when you go to school, your shit gets graded. You get graded on art. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, everything you do gets graded. We're also taught, okay, take your test. Don't share the answers. You can't let anybody else know. I mean, we don't even do that in real life. Like, life and success, especially in business and experience, is so much about who you know. Like, hey girl, that application is opening up, I think you should apply, whatever, or knowing people in the right places to help you meet other people. Like, I can go on all day on how in real life as adults, we always give our friends the answers. It's actually frowned upon not to do that. Like, you're going down this path that I've been, I'm just going to sit over here and not share anything with you and not tell you how that person is this or that experience will be amazing. Like, that's not even how we operate in real life, or that's not how we're supposed to, right? But in school, like, you can't give any answers. We got to test you all separately. Instead, like, wouldn't it be amazing if in school they had collective tests? Like, how good can I get y'all to work together to figure this shit out? How quickly can I get you talking to you when y'all think I have a problem and seeing, whoa, we are more alike than we are different? Like, how amazing would that be? I can go on all day long about certain things just like that, that teaches us to be the certain kind of people we are as a society, and not being afraid to make mistakes is not something we are taught in school, because you literally are judged and graded, and your entire hell, for most of us, you not getting it right was the reason your ass was on punishment all summer, right? Like, come home with all F's. Come home with them saying you didn't give your best effort. You know what I mean? So we have been conditioned to not be wrong. We have been conditioned to not act as if we don't know. To not put ourselves out there and ask questions and just be honest. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, we've been conditioned to make it seem as though we have our shit together on so many different levels. I'm just gonna leave it there. But the whole point being is that it's not really about right or wrong. In that moment, what do you want to do? Do it, try it. If it doesn't work out, okay, cool. Let's pivot, right? Like, and 9 times out of 10, you even trying that, let's just say you did something and it didn't work out. The shit still worked out because you learned something. You learned, one, what doesn't work, which if you had a stayed, which ironically, if you had a stayed in the, I don't know, I need to know how phase, you would not have even known. You would have stayed right there, because you would not have known that this was the wrong thing and it probably wasn't the best choice you should have made for that idea or whatever, until you did it and experienced it. But so, what doesn't work. Now you can pivot. Okay, what else can I try? And you've also learned something about yourself in that experience, making that decision. Like, that lesson taught you something that you can take for the rest of your life. So if we can pivot on what is wrongness and is it so bad, I think that most of us, including myself, will jump out and do more shit. Lastly, I just want to point out that it is extremely important to, as much as possible, say a yes or no. Like, it should be a definite yes or no. Because when we are stuck in the, I don't know if I want to, I don't know if I should, whatever, maybe, maybe not, we are literally stuck in nothingness. Like, it's either a hell yes or it's a no, because when you have something on the table, you're not sure if you're going to do it. You got this on this to-do list for fucking 6 years. Like, That takes up mental space that you can be using to create in those areas that you know it's a yes, you know it. So I don't know. It's just kind of like wasting everybody's time. Like if it's not a yes, I'm doing this now, it's a no. Even like your I don't know is a no because it's not a yes and you're not moving forward. So keep that in mind as you think about decisions and any of the decisions you have to make now. I would love to actually coach you on that. So reach out to me. We can talk about that. Like, what is one decision you have and what is holding you back from the yes or no? Like, we can run through this entire process. That's it. I love y'all. Goodbye. That wraps up this week. I hope you found value. Please share with a mom friend, subscribe, and leave a review. This helps this podcast to get into the minds of those who need it most. I would love to hear what you think about the episode. Find me on Instagram and Facebook at Moms Who Achieve. Looking forward to chatting with you next week. Take care.